welcome to the Heroic Division pre-show. My name's Jazeline, and joining me this evening is the wonderful Goon. Goon, how are you doing after last night? It was a long night.
It was a long night. I'm tired, but we're good. Things are groovy, chilling out. Hopefully, I get some decent sleep tonight before I go to work. I gotta be up at like 5 a.m. So, but no, things are cool. Last night was a lot of fun, and it was pog. It was pretty pog overall.
Yeah, it was a long day for I think both of us. We were up in the morning for meetings, and then I was
Mm-hmm.
doing working out, and then Girls Gang Squad, and then hanging out watching the Love and the Nexus event. But overall, fun day. But I was tired at the end of the day, that's for sure. I'm excited to be able to just sleep in and do absolutely nothing tomorrow because tomorrow's my
Yeah.
day off. We're going to give a quick breakdown for those of you that don't know the Heroic Division teams. If this is your first time tuning into one of the shows or even checking in on what's going on in Heroic Division, we'll give you a quick rundown of who is actually there. Hi, Day. I hope you're doing well. I saw your announcement in the Discord. Congrats on the CCL position. But let's kick this off. 30K Violet, that's the first team we're going to talk about. We're not going to get into too much about these teams. Our last show really covered these teams in depth. If you'd like to take a look at that, it's on my YouTube channel. We also have Djnm, Dragon Strike, Imagine, who we are going to be casting tonight, Rook Gaming, Big Push Power, Bronze 6, the Seven Rings, Caffeinated Knights, Team Happy Cloud, and Vendetta. This is a much bigger division than Storm Division, so a lot more teams to cover here in our
Oh
pre-show
yeah.
than our Storm Div pre-shows. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump over and just kind of show you guys what's going on with the division standings. Because of the number of teams in this division, there's 11, so there's always going to be one team that has a bye. Team Happy Cloud got the bye the first week. This week, Seven Rings has a bye. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these standings, because Seven Rings and Team Happy Cloud, they're sitting down there in 5th and 6th place, but that's really only because they can only have a max of 3 points right now without those second matches that they've played. So even though, I guess what my point is here, you're looking at this list, and Caffeinated Knights, they're pretty high up there. But Caffeinated Knights has played 2 series, and one of those series they actually lost. So even though they're in 3rd place, it's just because they played 2, and instead of being dominated, they took a map off that, and that's why they're so high up there. Talk a little bit about the where I think they fall on the tier list a little bit later for this division. But it can be a little bit misleading just looking at it right now, because there's definitely some teams in there that haven't dropped a game. Imagine right now, technically in 4th seed of the division, but they haven't lost a game yet. Tonight, that's who we're casting, so we're going to kind of see they're going to stay up there or they're going to fall to the middle of the pack here this afternoon. Seven Rings and Happy Cloud, they're still waiting on their 2nd series. And Big Push Power, this is their 2nd series of the season as well. So maybe a little bit of shuffling around after tonight. And after those teams that had buys get to pick up another match or two here. Goon, anything that's like really standing out to you in these division standings here?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm surprised. What was the match? The two matches that Bronze Six played. I'm a little
yeah.
surprised at where they're at right now.
Yeah,
I
me
thought
too.
that they would be a little bit higher, so I'm curious to see who they played against. If it was like 30K Violet or something like this,
So
I can understand. But
Bronze Six, their first match was against Rook Gaming, and they were 2-0'd there. And their 2nd series was against Djnm, which I wasn't expecting them to necessarily struggle as much into Djnm as maybe Rook Gaming. Rook Gaming's kind of been working together. They have a pretty decent
yeah,
coach from what I heard, so much more of a challenge for Rook Gaming maybe than Djnm. Djnm, they did take a game off of Djnm, but they ultimately lost the series in a 2-1. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised to see them so far down at the bottom as well. Maybe they're just getting a bit unlucky in facing the stronger teams early in the season here. Maybe they haven't been, maybe they're still brushing the dust off after the break from last season, because I don't know that they were doing too much in between last season of NGS and this season of
yeah.
NGS. So
Maybe. I mean, they still gotta. they haven't faced 30K Violet yet.
Mm-hmm.
Caffeinated Knights, historically speaking, is a stronger team in this division. And then, depending on what we see tonight from Imagine, they would have to play that. So it could be a pretty uphill battle for Bronze Six. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hoping to see them a little bit higher after the first couple weeks, but like you said, maybe it's just knocking that rust off.
Yeah, other teams that I'm kind of curious about looking at these standings too. Dragon Strike, their first series was against the Seven Rings, and their second series was against 30K. So those are a couple teams that have like kind of been
Mm.
putting in a lot of work as well. So I'm like, is Dragon Strike really like, low end of the division team here, or are they also kind of getting unlucky with those first couple teams that they're facing off? 30K was only a few points off of qualifying for Storm
Home
Division.
division. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really not that big of a gap between the top end of Heroic and bottom end of Storm Division here. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of curious to see too if Dragon Strike is one of those teams where they're going to be maybe more middle of the pack and just kind of unlucky with the first couple matchups.
And Dragon Strike right now is looking for an off lane player also.
Oh,
So that's something that's come up. So if you're an off lane player and you think you got what it takes to be in this division and compete, hit them up. Dragon Strike in the NGS Discord. So
hmm. Well, there you go. Tempting.
all the scoop, all the scoop.
Yeah, Vendetta too. They're sitting down there. They haven't picked up a single map yet. But the teams they faced Imagine, who has their second series tonight, or we're going to be casting Imagine versus Big Push Power, and they faced Rook Gaming. So again, some more difficult teams probably from the division here. I'm interested to see if they're going to continue to kind of stay at the lower end or work their way into like the mid kind of levels of teams for this division as well.
Hmm. What about Big Push Power?
Yeah, so Big Push Power, they played 30K for their
Okay.
first match. So
Okay.
they had a tough team. They had a tough team for their first series
Sure.
here. So not having any matches picked up, not too surprising necessarily here. That's why I'm really interested in tonight's match, because you have Imagine who 2-0'd Vendetta, but arguably Vendetta is maybe, well, according to the standings, is the worst team in the league. So that doesn't really tell us too much about how good Imagine is necessarily either. So I am interested to see what actually happens in a matchup between Imagine and Big Push Power tonight, because Big Push Power's faced the best team in the division. Imagine's faced the worst team in the division right now, at least. So these teams might be a little bit more closer in skill than the standings are really telling us. We're going to go on over to cover the matches that are coming up this week now that we've taken a look at the standings. We have the Seven Rings versus 30K Violet. That one I don't think is scheduled, at least not when I put the show together. But I think it's going to be an interesting matchup because these, even though Seven Rings, they've only had that one series that they played so far, they have a bye this week. I think they might be a little bit stronger of a team in the division. So it'll be interesting to see them take on 30K Violet. They've been working hard in like HRCS. They've been putting a lot of prep into these games and stuff. So it's kind of like the decider of whether 30K Violet is really just going to like dominate and stay on top this entire time. One of those types of matches here.
Yeah, I know that Seven Rings also has a roster change. Zero was their tank player, is now playing in Storm Division for Baby Makers now. So I'm curious to see who takes over that tank role on Seven Rings.
Well, I accidentally clicked my spacebar and gave spoilers away, but I'm predicting a 30K Violet win here. They've been, they've been sticking with their same rosters. They're not having any switches going into this next week that I know of. And so far, they've been having a great showing in Storm Division, so I'm expecting that to continue. Whether it's a full 2-0 wipe or if it's a 2-1, I'm not quite sure. Maybe Seven Rings will sneak a game in, but I wouldn't be surprised if 30K Violet 2-0s. What's your thoughts, Goon?
Yeah, I think 30K Violet will probably take the win here. I don't know if it's going to be a 2-0. I do think Seven Rings has the potential to take a game. I do like some of the shot calling and some of the drafting potential that Avena Quaker has for his team. Now, if he can get the team to kind of get onto the same page and execute on his ideas effectively, I think they'll find some success. Again, I think 30K Violet is going to win, but Seven Rings definitely has a chance to take a map. I'm going to say 2-1.
Okay. Next up, we have Vendetta versus Djnm. This is another interesting matchup for me because Vendetta right now, they haven't picked up a single map, but Djnm, they they aren't they're middle of the pack. That's basically what I'm thinking right now. They've won into Bronze 6. It was a 2-1. It wasn't necessarily an easy victory for them. And they were defeated by Caffeinated Knights in a 2-0, so they didn't even pick up a single map off Caffeinated Knights. So I'm interested to see how this one plays out. This is where I would like to see Vendetta at least pick up a map. I'm hoping it'd be a 2-1 here, and maybe they kind of find their stride going into this series, because this is maybe a little bit easier of a team for them to face, because they had to face Imagine and Rook Gaming so far. So those aren't necessarily the easiest teams in the division. This one's going to be more middle of the pack team. Maybe they come out here with a victory. Maybe they at least take a map. What's your thoughts, Goon?
Djnm has some interesting players here. I think that I think that they might be able to eke out a victory over Vendetta, and I think it might be another 2-0. Automatic Z is a very aggressive DPS player with a decently flexible hero pool for some cheese strategies and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that might be pretty annoying to deal with in these series. They can play straight up, but will they play straight up? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I have this one going over to Djnm as well here. So we'll have to keep an eye and see what happens, because I am interested to see if Vendetta's kind of going to pick themselves up now going into week 3 of the matches. The next match we're going to talk about, Bronze 6 versus Team Happy Cloud. This one I kind of have marked as the game to watch for this week if I had to pick one. And that's because both of these two teams are teams that have been grinding it out, climbing through the divisions, and have found themselves all the way up here in Heroic Division. I think it'll be interesting to see how they compare, especially since Team Happy Cloud already has that bye, so they're kind of looking to pick up some wins and maybe make the standings appear a little bit better for them. I'm pretty familiar with Bronze 6's roster as well, and I was saying earlier, I think they're maybe just kind of brushing the dust off, getting into the swing of things again with NGS starting up. So it'll be interesting to see how they face off against Team Happy Cloud. Team Happy Cloud, the one match that they have played right now is against Caffeinated Knights, who is another team who's been grinding it out and slowly climbing up through the divisions to end up in Heroic Division. And it was a 2-1, so they did take the win there, but they dropped one map, so it wasn't a necessarily easy win for them.
Yeah, I think Bronze 6 will get this one. They're gonna wake up. They're gonna all right. We're warmed up. We're ready to go. There's you said Happy Cloud has the bye this week, right? Curious.
They had it week 1.
They had it week 1. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping Bronze 6 gets that dub. I'm showing my bias here.
Yeah, I'm expecting out of all the series this week that Team Happy Cloud versus Bronze 6 is probably going to be the closest series and most competitive series to watch. So if you're going to look for one to pick up and then take a peek at, I would probably be eyeing that one as a fun one to keep an eye on. I have this one going over to, I think Bronze 6 is who I chose. Yeah, I have this one going to Bronze 6. I think they're gonna finally find their footing here and pick up a win for week 3. Our next match that we have, Dragon Strike versus Imagine. Oops, and I'm already showing who I think is gonna win. Well, let me tell you, Dragon Strike, here's the thing. They've faced some of the harder teams in the division so far, 30K and 7 Rings, both of who are coming in here off of a lot of prep in Heroes Rise Contender Series, and have been putting in a lot of work. So I don't know that Dragon Strike's losses necessarily speak to how good or bad they are, or whether they've just got unlucky with those first matches of the week, and now they got the hard teams out of the way, and they're ready to go. And we only really have that one match of Imagine to look at to know how good they are, and it was versus the worst team in the division, at least for right now. We don't know. We don't have enough data to know right now if Vendetta is really the worst team, but in the standings they are. So this match I think will be another interesting one to watch, but I think after tonight we'll have a better idea of how good really Imagine is.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get into the predictions later, but depending on what the performance looks like for Imagine, we'll have a very strong indication of
Hmm.
where they lie in this season, in
Yeah,
this division.
like Dragon Strike could just be getting super unlucky and having to face like the three top teams right off the start for the season.
Mhm.
30K into Seven Rings into Imagine if Imagine 2-0s again tonight.
Hey,
Um,
but those are some good teams to play against early.
yeah.
Get your ass handed to you a little bit and scale up and just rip right through the rest of
Hmm.
the division and scale. So
Yeah, if you get the hard matches out of the way too first and you do well the rest of the season, you'll feel kind of good coming off of wins into playoffs maybe.
yeah,
So
yeah.
instead of getting beat down at the end of the season. But yeah, I'm giving it to Imagine, but this is another one that's a bit of a toss up because we haven't really seen enough of these teams to really know how they're going to compare.
Yeah.
The last series of this week coming up, guys, is going to be Big Push Power versus Rook Gaming. Big Push Power kind of has the same thing happening as Dragon Strike. They've arguably faced some of the strongest teams in the division as well, with 30K and Imagine being their opponents. We don't know how tonight's going to go. They're facing Imagine tonight, but they've already faced 30K. And if they're 2-0'd by Imagine tonight, they might just be like also unlucky and facing the strongest teams in the division at the start of the season. They might not actually be the worst. They could be middle of the pack. But we'll have to see. It's hard to say with only, 1 or 2 weeks of games where Big Push Power really falls in the skill level of these teams here. But I do know that Rook Gaming has been putting in the work, and they have a pretty good coach.
Yeah. And I just checked in chat to make sure we're still good. We're still good with the coach, and yeah, he said that yeah, they still have the coach. So, from what I know, last time that coach was Justin. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how they adjust their drafts, how they clean up their play style, and whatnot. This is the place to do it. This division going up into Storm potentially next season. It's good. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, so I have this one going over to Rook Gaming. I think they've been doing fairly well so far in the first couple weeks of games. In week 1, Rook Gaming faced Bronze 6 and 2-0'd them. And in week 2, Rook Gaming faced Vendetta and 2-0'd them. So right now, they are looking like a pretty strong contender in this division. So I'm going to give it to them. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about my tier list I have made up now. I didn't put anyone in S tier yet, and the reason is I think that some of these stronger teams have mostly been facing, mid to lower end division teams. So until I see maybe like a 30K versus Rook Gaming or 30K versus Imagine or Imagine versus Rook Gaming, some of those, like those three in particular, face each other, I don't really want to put anyone quite up there yet. So I have 30K and Rook Gaming right now in the A tier slot for Heroic Division. Those two teams, they haven't dropped a game yet. But whether that's because they've just got lucky and got the weaker teams and they haven't been challenged yet, we'll kind of see as the season goes on. Goon, what do you think of that placement for them? Do you think one of them deserves a S tier?
No. No. And that's I'm not flaming. Just no. No one's S tier. Not yet. Not here anyways.
So we have Imagine and the Seven Rings. These ones are a little bit harder to place. Right now I'm kind of dropping them in B tier. Imagine 2-0'd their first series. It wasn't to Vendetta, which was one of the weaker teams. The Seven Rings also has a bye this week, so we only have that one series to take a look at. And it was into Dragon Strike. We don't really know where Dragon Strike falls here. I put them down in C tier, as you can see. So these are kind of what I'm thinking, like Seven Rings to like Dragon Strike right now, middle of the pack, maybe Bronze 6 thrown in there as well. We really need more information before I feel comfortable saying like they are definitely a B tier team, There's only one series to go off of for both Imagine and the Seven Rings and a Team Happy Cloud as well. They all only have that one series. Caffeinated Knights though, I put them B tier. I kind of know their history. They're seen them around and perform decently. I know they are like a solid team, but they did struggle in a week 2 losing to Team Happy Cloud 2-1. So we got to give Team Happy Cloud a little bit ahead of them in the tier list, in the B rank there. And I think Caffeinated Knights maybe going to be like a middle of the pack team. Not going to be at the bottom, not going to be way at the top, but I expect them like, 5th or 6th seed towards, well, we'll see. It's only been 2 weeks. We can't say it definitively, but that's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, I it's interesting because I think Djnm here, this front end of the C tier, bottom half of the B tier, that's going to be very close. I think
Yes.
we're gonna see some significant shifts in there, and then I think that there's the two dark horses of Bronze 6 and potentially Dragon Strike. Like there's something about Dragon Strike to me that's like, okay,
yeah, I don't know what it is.
Let's see what happens here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right there. I feel that as well. So I mean, even though those 3 teams are down in C tier, looking at Djnm, they've taken a game off of Bronze 6, so Bronze 6 rated a little bit lower. They were 2-0'd by Caffeinated Knights. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where they go from here. It's not like they've been facing the strongest teams in the division either, so I think that their rating of C tier for now is fair enough. Dragon Strike, they were facing 7 rings and 30k. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see Dragon Strike maybe pop up into B tier after another week or 2 of games here, simply because they've had some tough matches so far, and Bronze 6, I don't know, man. They're wild card. They could they could show up. They could start showing up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them move around either. Lastly, they're down in D tier right now. We have Big Push Power and Vendetta, simply because these teams haven't even managed to pick up a single map. That might change tonight, though, because we are casting Imagine versus Big Push Power. So like I said, this is kind of going to either, the tier list is going to stay basically the same after tonight, or we're going to kind of see Big Push Power maybe drop up into C and Imagine drop down a little bit, at least further on the B end, or maybe into C up or C end. So we'll have to see. But yeah, anything you want to touch on before we look at tonight's match?
No.
All right.
Let's see what we got going on tonight.
Well, we are going to be casting Imagine versus Big Push Power. Over on the side of Imagine, the roster, JTR Virtuoso, Richard Gere, Fatal Rampage McNulty, and Breakwood making up their roster. I'm not sure which 5 of them are going to be playing this evening, but all players that have kind of been around for a long time.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, you.
No, yeah, they have been around a while. They all have a lot of competitive experience playing in these leagues and these divisions and whatnot. And I'm just excited to see them play and see what kind of pop they bring tonight.
Me too. I also they are big fans of my casting apparently, and I got messages from them, so I maybe be a little bit biased, but I'll try my best not to be. No, Big Push Power, actually, they are a very sweet team as well. I've talked to their captain Sovereign a bit, and he told me lots about their team, and we kind of discussed a little bit about what's going on over there. So they're an awesome team as well. It actually would be hard for me to be pretty biased here, because I like the people on both these teams. They're nice people. Sovereign, known as the best track player, he plays on a
trackpad
best
gamer,
trackpad player in NA of all time. Might be because he's the only one. No, I'm just kidding. But Big Push Power, they've kind of been putting in a little bit of work here. I'm interested to see how they do tonight. I would like to see them take a game off of Imagine, but I have a feeling Imagine might go out with the win tonight. We'll have to see. They were at the Miami LAN, if you guys didn't know. They actually went down there and participated in that.
That's true. That's true. Maybe that LAN experience just gave them a giga buff, and they're ready to frag.
Yeah.
And just destroy everybody.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be an interesting match. It's going to really determine whether, Imagine is a top tier team and Big Push Power is maybe a little bit lower of a bottom tier team in Heroic Division this evening. I think that's it. That's all we have to cover here for the pre-show. We have the game coming up in about 4 minutes here, so we're gonna go to a quick break, and we will be back with Imagine versus Big Push Power. Thank you for joining us for the pre-show. Have a good break. We'll see you soon.